Hello there. As many of you may know, foster children are growing into an issue that needs to be fixed almost immediately in this world. It's a rapidly increasing issue. Now, there is a correlation between foster children and those children with disabilities because many times parents don't have the resources to be able to take care of a child when they find out that the child has a disability, or a special need, as I prefer to call it. I feel like disability is possibly insulting. According to Ian Langtree, approximately 13% of all children between ages 6 and 14 experience some form of a disability of the over 500,000 plus children that are in the foster care system. Now, I do have a personal correlation with this topic. My boyfriend's little sister was adopted officially. She didn't go into the foster care system. She was sort of dropped off on their doorstep. However, she does have many special needs. She has ARFID, SPD or sensory processing disorder, autism, Asperger's, and a whole other slew of diagnoses of different special needs that she requires accommodations for. Now, as many of you may not know, how the system works exactly is the parents are screened by using background checks and making sure that they have a safe environment for a child or have no endangering life situations that could possibly endanger a child. They don't want to put a child into a home that can be endangering and non-nurturing for the child. If it is non-nurturing, that child may not grow into a more respectable young person or adult, depending on what age the child is adopted. And they definitely don't want any issues with the child. Whether or not that child has special needs is a totally different issue. The parents then fill out paperwork, a child is chosen for them to be adopted, and the screening process all starts in front of a judge. That judge then determines, based on the parents, whether or not the child is going to go into that home and be safe in that home and that environment growing up. Now, this is a growing problem, more of a growing problem of the children that are becoming fostered due to their disabilities, or just children in the foster care system that are developing disabilities as well. A big part of this is the parents don't have a lot of education. So, educating the parents of foster children with disabilities can be offered to the parents during the process. There is a website called arrow.org that informs parents and children, or informs parents of children with special needs before the process, during the process, and even after the process, so that they can learn to help accommodate their child better. Parents generally don't have much information about a child with special needs or have much information on how to accommodate those special needs before they adopt the child. So doing that research through this website or through any other website they can find is very beneficial to not only themselves, but also the child as well. For example, two children that have special needs and they have the same special need will both require different accommodations because they are two different children. But these children with special needs are just as special as those who don't have special needs, who are in the foster care system as well. All children need to be cared for, loved for, nurtured, etc. So all children are equal in this sense. A lot of the reason is that the government a lot of this is an issue because parents or the government don't even know how to accommodate these foster children with these special needs, such as, autism or Asperger's or sensory processing disorder, or the child has a mental disability or has a mental issue that needs resolved, or they're struggling learning in school, etc. All of these could be considered special needs that a parent needs to learn to accommodate to, as well as the government doesn't necessarily have the resources to accommodate to that specific child. However, if that specific child is able to be accommodated for with the proper funding from the government, that generally helps out a lot more. So, government funding for the foster care children could definitely be increased in order to be able to help these children that have special needs or that are in the foster care system in general. The government gives prospective parents and or foster parents a compensation for their time during the process in order to be able to take care of the child. So money for food, beds, clothes, a new house if the parent, is desperate or is renting, or, whatever the parent decides to use that money for in order to be able to better their environment so that the child can strive in that environment and be able to successfully grow. Now, there are tax credits that these parents get through the government. It's called the Federal Adoption Tax Credit, and that's according to grants, loans, and tax credit for adoption. The children are coming from, usually if they're living in a foster home, they're coming from nothing if they're living in a group home. They, are coming from used beds, barely any clothes, low food intake because these group homes don't have a lot of funding and need more money in general. And when they go to these new homes with these parents who are getting compensation for taking care of them, they get brand new clothes and new beds and all of this wonderful stuff in order to be able to come into an environment that they can strive in. And that environment needs to be nurturing, loving, and healthy in order for this child to be able to strive later in life, not only right then and there at that moment as being adopted. So the ultimate solution to this rapidly increasing and growing problem is to adopt and support a child with special needs and a child from the foster care system. They can be one and the same in this case. So in order to do that, you can donate money to an organization that will help people adopt special needs children and accommodate and educate themselves. It gives the adults an education on special needs of children is more needed in this sense. We need to figure out a way to help the government use their resources for funding to better accommodate and more considerably and appropriately spread out those funds so these foster care children can be taken care of, whether they're in a group home, in a foster home, or being in the process of being adopted. And we need to increase the adoption of foster children so that way it's not becoming as much of an increasing problem. Now, thank you, and go help the children.